In the sweltering heat of Zimbabwe's political arena, where alliances shatter like fragile glass and whispers of betrayal echo louder than cheers, one question hangs heavier than the October humidity. Where is Vice President Constantino Chiwenga? The once indispensable general architect of the 2017 coup that ousted Robert Gabriel Mugabe and propelled Emerson Mnangagwa to presidency, seems to have slipped into a deliberate fog. Is he boycotting his boss' high-profile gigs, nursing grudges from last week's explosive ZANU-PF conference, or simply playing a masterful game of hide and seek in the corridors of power? And what of that tantalizing rumor of a 6 p.m. national broadcast where President Emerson Mnangagwa was set to eviscerate his deputy? As the sun dips low over the capital today, the airwaves stayed silent, leaving a nation glued on their radios, wondering if the real drama is unfolding off the script. Now, picture this. It's mid-morning in Harare, and President Emerson Mnangagwa President Emerson Mnangagwa emerges at the National Youth Symposium, not delivering stem of lectures on economic reform, but throwing playful punches at a makeshift boxing ring. The crowd erupts in laughter as the 82-year-old leader shadow boxes with wide-eyed youngsters, his jabs landing more symbolic than seismic. It's classic ED, charming, folksy, and utterly distracting from the storm brewing just beyond the venue's perimeter. But amid the cheers, the elephant in the room, or rather the general not in the room, looms large. Chiwenga, the man who could summon tanks with a nod, was nowhere to be seen. No joint photo ops, no dutiful applause from front row, just absence. That most potent of political weapons. Now, to unravel this, let's rewind the tape to Zimbabwe's most riveting soap opera, the 22nd ZANU-PF Annual People's Conference in Mutare, October 13 to 18, should have been a triumph lap for the ruling party. Instead, it moved into a gladiatorial showdown. Delegates hand-picked and fiercely loyal to Mnangagwa slashed attendance from 7,000 to a mere 4,000, conveniently boxing out Chiwenga's sympathizers. The air cracked with tension as resolutions sailed through. Mnangagwa's term extended to 2030. Chants of 2030, dear Emerson, thundering like war drums, and Chiwenga booed off the stage during the closing ceremony. His introduction of the president met with jeers rather than reverence. It was humiliation wrapped in party protocol. It was a clear signal that the Lacoste faction, the Mnangagwa's old guard, had drawn its first blood. But Chiwenga, he doesn't sink away quietly. Days earlier, September 17, he had dropped a bombshell, a 7-page dossier to the Politburo accusing Mnangagwa's inner circle business tycoons like Kudakwashe Tagire, Wikineo Chivayo, and Deli Shingwaya of siphoning 3.2 billion in state funds to grease the wheels of the ED 2030 machine. Prisoners roared Mnangagwa's camp in response, with Justice Minister Ziyambi branding the VP immature and ignorant of party rules. Chiwenga's retort, a fiery speech at the conference opening, veiled swipes at rent seekers and calls for wealth to benefit all, not just a few. It was moral high ground meets military precision, a gambit that painted him as the anti-corruption crusader against Mnangagwa's alleged kleptocracy. Fast forward to today, 22 October, the plot thickens, social media abuzz all morning with whispers of a 6 p.m. bombshell. Mnangagwa live on ZBC, set to touch Chiwenga over the dossier and incitement. Independent outlets like Gambakwe Media hyped a Twitter space as the countdown ticked, drawing hundreds into digital coliseum. But 6 p.m. would come, 6 p.m. would go. Silence on the TV, no fiery address, just the hum of crickets and a pivot of tomorrow's SADC anti-sanctions day preparations. Was it a feint, a leak to test loyalties, or has Mnangagwa, ever the tactician from his intelligence days, opted for surgical strikes over spectacle? Insiders whisper of a closed-door Politburo session in Borode where Mnangagwa's loyalists plot Chiwenga's isolation, perhaps even arrest, while the VP allies in Midlands huddle in Kwekwe, weighing their next move. So the big question is, where is the general? Where is Chiwenga? Not missing in the clock. Not missing in the clock in dagger sense. No dramatic disappearance or safe house exile. Fresh reports pin him in Matebeleland South, kicking off a 3-day tour in Makorokoro village in Jikinja. They, amidst Dust Nutrition Gardens commissioned by Mnangagwa himself back in 2021. The VP is assessing the community projects, irrigation schemes, food security hubs, the nuts and the bolts, staff of rural empowerment. It's a savvy optic, grounded, people-focused, a subtle rebuke of Harare's elite games. Yet this low-key itinerary screams strategy. No overlap with Mnangagwa's youth symposium, no shared podiums. It's the soft boycott of a man who has been snubbed before. And recall the October 17 aborted protests where Chiwenga publicly distanced himself from unlawful demo allegedly fueled by his camp, or last year's security fears that kept him from ED's helicopter hopes. Is it a boycott or brilliance? Chiwenga's playbook harks back to his Zimbabwe African National Liberation Army days. Patient, disciplined, waiting for the flanks to weaken. By steering clear of Mnangagwa's spotlight, he avoids fresh humiliation while banishing his image as the steady hand for the masses. Critics like Temba Mliskwa crow that VP has dug his own grave. His Mutare defines a suicidal misstep. But others see a phoenix rising with military loyalties intact and corruption cries resonating on X, where hashtag Chiwenga Watch trends alongside hashtag ED2030. He could still flip the script. Imagine a dossier fueled page, or worse, barracks rumbling in the term extension bulldozers. If the term extension bulldozes through the constitutional amendments by October 2026. Now, as night falls in Harare, the unbroadcast broadcast lingers like a ghost. Mnangagwa morning jabs were literal warm-ups for a heavier one wedged in shadows, not in stadiums. Chiwenga's Matebeleland detour. A reminder that power in Zimbabwe isn't won in capitals but in the provinces, where voices and rifles alike are forged. This isn't just Factional fisticuffs. It's a constitutional crisis brewing, a test of whether ZANU-PF revolutionary rhetoric can survive its own grid. For now, the general lurks in the wings, his silence louder than any speech. But in Zimbabwe politics, quiet never lasts. The next punch, delivered in a village, garden, or a midnight memo, could land anywhere. And where does the whole house of cards? When it does land, the whole house of cards might tumble. Mpofu,